Let me ask you something real. When was the last time you felt totally calm, totally clear, like nothing could shake you? For most people, that moment is rare because today anxiety is everywhere. It's in the silence before you fall asleep. It's in the second guessing before you make a decision. It's the fear that whispers, what if I'm not enough? But here's the truth. Anxiety isn't who you are. It's just a pattern your mind and body have practiced. And that means you can break it, you can retrain it, you can rise above it. I'm not here to give you theory or fluff. I'm here to show you what actually works, real tools that retrain your nervous system, redirect your focus, and put the power back in your hands. Because you weren't born to live afraid, you were born to be free. So if you're ready to stop being the victim of fear and start becoming the leader of your life, then stay with me. This isn't just another motivational speech. This is the turning point. Let's begin. Let me tell you something most people never realize. Fear isn't a monster under the bed. It's not some unstoppable force. It's a pattern, a loop your brain runs over and over until it feels automatic, until it feels like who you are. But it's not who you are. It's just a habit. And once you see it for what it is, you take away its power. You weren't born anxious. No baby comes into the world worrying about bills, relationships, or whether they're good enough. That stuff gets installed, it gets conditioned into you through experience, through repetition, through the environment you were raised in. And here's the kicker. If it was learned, it can be unlearned. If it was wired in, it can be rewired. See, fear follows a predictable formula. It usually starts with a trigger, a thought, a sound, a memory, a situation. That trigger sets off a cascade. Your mind goes into what-if mode. What if this goes wrong? What if I fail? What if they leave me? And those thoughts create a feeling. Tight chest, racing heart, shallow breath. That feeling confirms the fear, and then we believe it's real. We think, well, I feel anxious, so I must be in danger. But it's not real danger. It's just the mind doing what it was trained to do. The problem is, when you run this pattern enough times, it feels automatic. And when something feels automatic, we assume it's permanent. But it's not. It's just familiar. And familiar doesn't mean true. It just means rehearsed. I want you to think of your brain like a DJ. It keeps playing the same anxious track over and over because it doesn't know there's a better one. But the moment you realize you're the one choosing the track, even if it's been unconscious, that's the moment you can take back the remote. That's the moment you stop being a passenger and start driving the damn bus. You can interrupt the pattern. You can change your state. You can rewire the loop. And it doesn't take years. It takes decisions. It takes leverage. It takes practice. But once you get it, even once, you'll never forget the feeling of breaking free from something that used to control you. Most people don't need to be fixed. They need to be freed. And fear is not a life sentence. It's just a signal asking for your attention, a signal saying, it's time to grow. You are not broken, you are not weak, you are not stuck. You've just been running the same program for too long, and today we're going to change it. Let me give you something that changes the game instantly, something most people never connect. The way you move is the way you feel. That's not some motivational fluff. That's neurophysiology. Emotion doesn't just happen in your head, it lives in your body. You change your body, you change your state. You shift your state, and the whole world looks different. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how someone walks when they're depressed? Shoulders down, slow movements, shallow breathing, head low. You can see the emotion in their physiology. But here's the key. It works in reverse too. If you move like someone who's confident, energized, certain, your nervous system starts to match that. Your feelings start to change. Your brain listens to your body. Anxiety is a state, and all states are shiftable. But when people feel anxious or fearful, they usually freeze. They stop breathing fully, they shrink in, they disconnect, and then they try to think their way out of it, which only makes it worse. Because you can't think your way out of a physiological problem, you have to move through it. You've got to prime your system. You've got to get into motion. If you want to break the fear loop, the fastest way is through the body. Breathe like someone who's in control. Stand like someone who owns the space. Move like someone who knows they're not at the mercy of fear. Because when you change how you use your body, you immediately change what your brain thinks is happening. The mistake people make is they wait to feel better before they act. But that's backward. You don't need to feel confident to move. You need to move to feel confident. You don't wait for courage to show up. You act your way into courage. Action is what creates emotional momentum. And the moment you realize you can shift how you feel by how you move, you stop waiting and start leading. Every morning you have a decision. You can wake up and let the day control you, or you can prime your state and show up to dominate it. It doesn't take hours. It can take 5 minutes. Breathe deep. Put your body in motion. Use your voice. Get your energy up. You do that consistently, you're not just managing anxiety, you're replacing it with power. You're training your system to associate movement with control instead of panic. The body is the fastest access point to freedom. You're not stuck in fear, you're just stuck in stillness. Change that and everything else starts to follow. Words are powerful. They're not just sounds. They are commands to your nervous system. The words you use, especially the ones you say to yourself, shape your emotions, your actions, and ultimately your destiny. And most people don't even realize it. They think anxiety is just something that happens to them, but often it's something they're triggering with their language. I want you to really think about this. What do you say to yourself in moments of fear? I'm overwhelmed. I can't handle this. I always screw things up. This is too much. See, when you label an experience with extreme or disempowering language, your body responds like it's life or death, because the mind believes what the voice repeats. Language becomes identity. If you tell yourself enough times, I'm an anxious person, your brain stops questioning it. It becomes part of your blueprint. But here's the truth. You're not anxious. You're just experiencing anxiety. And that's a huge difference. One is an identity, the other is a moment. And moments pass. So you've got to upgrade your language. You've got to catch yourself in the moment and replace the disempowering story with one that serves you. Instead of I'm freaking out, say I'm feeling a surge of energy. Instead of this is terrifying, say this is challenging and I'm rising to it. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about leading yourself. Because language is leadership. The words you choose either direct you or destroy you. They either move you forward or lock you in place. And most people don't even realize how brutal their internal dialogue is. You talk to yourself in ways you would never speak to someone you love, and then you wonder why you don't feel safe in your own mind. You want to break the cycle of anxiety, start with the story. Interrupt the inner critic and become your own coach. What would you say to your best friend if they were feeling scared? You'd remind them of their strength. You'd talk them through it. You'd build them up. Now give yourself that same gift, because your nervous system is always listening. And it's responding not just to the world, but to your words. You don't need perfect thoughts. You need powerful language. You need words that give you breathing room. Words that give you leverage. Words that remind you that fear is not a wall, it's a signal. And when you shift the language, the emotion follows. So next time fear shows up, change the conversation. Don't argue with it, lead it. Redirect it. Speak like the leader you're becoming, not the victim you used to be. Focus is the steering wheel of the mind. Wherever you aim it, everything else follows. Fear and anxiety don't just show up out of nowhere. They're fueled by what you choose to focus on. If you constantly zoom in on what's wrong, what's missing, or what could go wrong, your body will respond like it's under attack. Because whatever you focus on, you feel. Whether it's real or imagined, your nervous system doesn't care. It just responds. Most people live in what I call the what if trap. What if I fail? What if they judge me? What if I'm not good enough? And when you put your focus there long enough, your body begins to believe those scenarios are already happening. You get the same stress response as if the worst case scenario was unfolding in real time, even though you're just sitting still staring at the ceiling or looking at your phone. But what if you made a different choice? What if instead of focusing on what could go wrong, you trained your mind to look for what's possible? What if you asked better questions like, what can I learn from this? Or how can I grow through this? The quality of your life is often determined by the quality of the questions you ask. Weak questions lead to fear. Strong questions lead to focus and freedom. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about training your focus to go where your power lives. Fear gets strong when you focus on things you can't control, the future, other people's opinions, the unknown. But peace and clarity show up the moment you bring your focus to what you can control, your breath, your words, your posture, your next action. When your focus shifts, your emotion follows. And when your emotion shifts, your choices open up. Most people wait for their environment to change before they shift their focus. That's backward. You want to change your life? Start by changing where your attention goes. You can't control every thought that pops into your head, but you can control which ones you feed. The more you feed fear, the more it grows. The more you feed strength, the more it leads. And here's the truth. Focus is a skill. It's not something you either have or don't have. It's a muscle. You train it, you practice it, and over time, your mind stops defaulting to chaos and starts defaulting to clarity. You stop spiraling and start centering. It's not magic, it's mastery. And mastery comes through repetition. So the next time anxiety tries to hijack your system, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, where is my focus right now? And if it's on something that's draining you, shift it. Put it where it serves you. Aim your mind like a laser, because what you focus on consistently becomes your reality. Let me break something down that most people misunderstand. You don't build confidence by sitting around waiting to feel ready. You build confidence through action. Repeated, consistent, deliberate action. Certainty isn't something you're born with, it's something you create. And the way you create it is by stacking moments where you chose to move forward despite fear. That's where real power comes from. People think they need to feel certain before they take the leap, but that's not how it works. You don't wait for the feeling, you generate it. You generate it by doing the uncomfortable thing again and again until your nervous system starts to recognize, hey, I've been here before. I know how this goes. I've got this. This is how your brain works. It responds to repetition. It learns by experience. When you consistently act in a way that aligns with strength, confidence, courage, your mind rewires itself to expect those outcomes. But if you avoid, if you hesitate, if you wait for some magical moment where everything feels perfect, you teach your brain that fear wins. And every time you do that, you make fear louder. The truth is, courage is a muscle. You build it in the small decisions, the ones no one sees. The moment you speak up when it would be easier to stay silent. The time you take the call even though your heart is racing. The day you show up for yourself even when everything in you wants to run. Those moments matter. They build emotional weight. They create momentum. And when you stack enough of those moments, you start to feel something new. Certainty. Not arrogance. Not pretending everything's perfect. Just a deep inner knowing that whatever comes, you'll find a way. That's the kind of certainty that changes lives. It's not a performance. It's not a front. It's earned. So you've got to create rituals that reinforce that certainty, morning routines that ground you, small daily wins that remind you who you are. You celebrate progress, not perfection, because progress gives your nervous system feedback, and feedback is fuel. You start to associate effort with empowerment instead of exhaustion. Fear loses its grip the more you condition certainty. And here's the best part. It doesn't take some grand event. It takes practice. It takes showing up one more time. And then one more after that. You don't need a miracle. You need momentum. So if you want to feel confident, if you want to feel free, stop waiting for it. Start building it. Start stacking those wins. Start becoming the person who no longer hesitates when fear knocks. Because you've trained your mind to know exactly how to answer. Fear isn't the enemy. That's where most people get stuck. They think if they could just eliminate fear, then they'd finally live the life they want. But you don't need to kill fear. You need to learn how to use it. Because fear is energy, it's intensity, it's focus. And when you learn how to channel it instead of run from it, it becomes one of your greatest tools for growth. See, fear shows up when something matters. You don't feel fear about things that are meaningless to you. You feel fear because there's something on the line, a dream, a relationship, a version of yourself you haven't fully stepped into yet. So when that fear rises, don't shrink, lean in, ask it, what are you trying to show me? What is this fear pointing to that I haven't claimed yet? That shift alone can change everything. Because most people either suppress fear, pretend it's not there, numb it, ignore it, or they get overwhelmed by it and let it run the show. But both options leave you powerless. What if instead you made fear your signal, a signal that it's time to grow, a signal that you're on the edge of a breakthrough, a signal that you're no longer living inside your comfort zone? Think about it. Every time you've done something meaningful in your life, fear was in the room. Starting something new, ending something old, saying yes, saying no, speaking your truth, fear was there, but you moved anyway. That's the difference. You didn't eliminate the fear, you led through it. And that's where your power comes from. We live in a culture that teaches us to avoid discomfort, but discomfort is the price of growth. Fear is the toll booth at the entrance to your next level. You don't get to avoid it, you have to face it. And not just once. Every time you expand, every time you step into a bigger version of yourself, fear is going to test you. That's not a bad thing. That's proof that you're in the right place. So what do? You stop seeing fear as something to run from, and you start using it as fuel. You take the same energy that fear gives you, that heightened awareness, that elevated heartbeat, that tension in your chest, and you redirect it. You take that charge and aim it at your goals, your mission, your vision. Fear becomes drive. It becomes focus. It becomes a force for transformation. You don't need to be fearless. That's a myth. You just need to be someone who acts anyway. Someone who steps forward with the fear and says, let's go. Because when fear shows up, it means you're alive. It means you're in the arena. And that's exactly where you're meant to be.